Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network.
You make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven.
A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
All right. Hey, you're giving me that Super Bowl music, Kurt. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you so much for doing that. Hey, everybody, thanks for being here for another terrific edition of What's Up with Kobylt and Friends. In studio with me this week is my friend and fellow journalist, Jane Wells.
Woohoo!
She actually came to, hang out with me. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Veteran journalist, but also you've been with CNBC for a special correspondent with CNBC.
Yes.
You have even been subbing with my husband on KFI Radio at the John and Ken Show. You're terrific with him, by the way.
Thank you. You know, he's actually all bark and no bite.
It depends. If you lived with him, you wouldn't say that. Believe me. I could give you stories later. But anyway, and she's here to sort of hang out with me and talk to my wonderful guest, who my first guest on with me right now is Vaughn Kohler. Vaughn, thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.
You can hear we have a very large studio audience with us in this studio. You are a writer, a speaker, and a podcast host to millions, actually. And what I love about you, when I read about you, why I wanted you on the show, is because you talk about how to have an impact on people and how to influence people. And very often you do that through writing and helping people to write. Is that correct? Helping people to write their stories, teaching them to speak?
Yeah. I can actually serve as a full-blown ghostwriter, but I also serve as like a writing coach or a writing collaborator, but basically helping them articulate their message and sharing their story with the world.
Now, are you saying that everybody has a story? Have you ever written your own little memoirs down, Jane?
I just feel like, who cares?
Oh,
you know?
That's not true.
No, I do. I feel like everybody thinks they have a story, and everybody does have a story.
I think they do.
But I don't know if it's a marketable story.
That's true, but yours would be, though. I mean, I think most people have something, even if it just, they write it and it sits in their basement. Some grandchild will want to read it someday,
yes.
Right? Or you write it for your own purpose. But that's what you do. Do people come to you because they want to write a book, or how does this work?
It can be various things. A book can be one of the main reasons they come to me. It can be a short booklet, something that they want to use as a manifesto or a calling card in whatever area they're attempting to influence. But I definitely believe that everybody has some sort of story or message, and I think all of us are. I always use the metaphor of the gold mine. I think we're all gold mines, and we just have to mine what's in us to figure out how best we can impact the world.
Okay, so you're also a speaker, right? So when you go to talk to people or groups of people, you're hired to do what?
Communication skills is one thing, just general motivation. I have a talk that I give about it's basically how to establish rapport with someone through communication. I think that, particularly if you look at millennials, there's a breakdown in the ability to communicate because of the distraction of social media and the internet and that sort of thing. So I love connecting with people, and I think that there's an art to it, but I also think that there are frames that you can learn to use to build a really strong connection with someone through questions and through storytelling, and I try to share that with anybody that I speak with.
What do you do if you're a shy person and you not only do you generally, it's not in you to come out and speak to people, but you don't even want to? One of my kids is like that. And ever since he's been in school as a little kid, they would say, talk, say something. And he'd say, I don't want to. It was very difficult to draw him out. And I would just say, leave him alone. If he doesn't want to, he's a brilliant kid. But what do you do if somebody just doesn't really want to communicate with people? But you know what I mean?
Well, if I can interrupt really quickly.
Oh, please interrupt. That's what we do
My
here.
daughter was so shy, which is unbelievable that she came out of me, because she would just cringe as a child and hide behind me and would not speak.
Maybe that's why, because like I said, John and I have a kid like that.
Maybe
And that
you're
kid
so
won't speak
strong.
at all, right?
So when she was in junior high school, they had drama club, and for some reason she decided she wanted to do it. And in drama club, they learned improvisation. I mean, as 12-year-olds, they're learning to improvise on stage. She she learned to put on her game face, her stage face. And that forcing herself, she learned that she could pretend to be something, even if inside she was shy, and she then would eventually inside believe it. And now she's a deputy DA in Northern California in court, appearing before judges and juries now, and still very, very shy on the inside, but has learned to, I got to tell you,
I think that's
improvisation more than anything. Like, if you freeze, you learn to just move on into another direction.
In that game face, is that what you teach people, sort of? I mean, how to do that? Vaughn.
Well, for me, I was a pastor for 10 years, and I worked with some great volunteers. And two of my volunteers were a husband and wife team, Jimmy and Alicia Goheen. And Alicia's very talkative and articulate, and Jimmy's a strong, silent type. And I'll never forget that she said that the way that she got him going was basically to find the right topic. And to me, that's it. That's the key, is that you ask the questions until you find what a shy person finds really interesting.
That's
or
a great
what they're
point.
passionate about it. And that's how you draw them out.
That is terrific. You're right about that. Whatever it is their interest is, draw them out. I know with him in particular, my kid will bring up politics or...
Oh, my gosh, in your household.
Could you imagine? And politically...
Oh, my gosh.
I know. And in my household, we differ on how we look at things. So it depends upon if you want to get into a heated discussion or not. No wonder why the poor kid's quiet. But okay. So that's actually a terrific point. What else is it that you work on in terms of communicating? Like, give us the skills in the short time that we have.
Yeah, well, for me, a huge part of communication is just obviously, like you said, having the confidence to actually engage somebody in the first place. And I think in some ways, I feel like my take on this is a little bit different from the typical, we'll say, confidence guru or communications guru, in that everybody talks about confidence as being based on what you believe about yourself. But to me, it's not that at all. It's actually, well, it's part of that, but it's what you believe about other people. Okay, so if you look at other people, if you look at the people around you and you see them as sort of idols to be worshipped, or they're an addiction to be abused, or they're tools that you're just using to get to get what you want, then you're not going to be motivated. You're not going to be confident. But if you see them, if you can train yourself to see other people as just gifts that you were meant to value and enjoy, then to me that puts the emphasis on them.
Yes.
And you're not
I agree with
self-conscious
that.
because you're not even thinking about yourself.
Yes. No, that makes sense. I'm wondering, Vaughn, when you work with people about telling their own stories, what's the key to starting a good story, and what's a mistake people make a lot of times?
Good question.
Oh, gosh.
No, really. That's a good one.
As far as keys, I mean, I guess this is the way I would answer your question, is that whenever I tell people, here's what you look for. You look for the 3 Ps. You look for place, you look for passion, or you look for pain. And as far as place, I say a huge part of generating your story is where are you from? The cultural geographer Yu Fu Tuan said, "Tell me where you're from, and I'll tell you who you are."
Huh.
And I think people don't realize that where you're from shapes who you are. And if you can start asking questions about
This is
your
so
hometown,
true.
the values of your hometown, that will help generate stories. Obviously, passion. You can follow your passion to your meaning in life. But I remember hearing Melissa Gilbert, not Melissa, that's Elizabeth Gilbert, the Eat, Pray, Love lady, talking about how some people felt guilty because they didn't have one overriding passion in life. And I know a lot of people are like that. Well, if that's your case, well, then basically just look for things that you're interested in. But I think ultimately the number one thing that people, the mistake that they make is instead of, they need to look for their pain, frankly, because if you think of all the movies out there, what are the movies? Can you imagine a movie that didn't have any conflict? Well, a movie without conflict has no drama and it's boring.
Right.
And so for us, the locus of our story is our point of pain. I would tell people that, the most difficult moments of your life end up becoming the most powerful parts of your story. So sometimes the mistake people make is just, again, looking for happy moments. Well, maybe they need to look for sad moments or moments of challenge, and that's where they're going to find their story.
You also mentioned earlier that you think that social media gets in our way. Let's face it, it does. Nothing pisses me off more, by the way, that when I'm talking to somebody and they're just sitting there looking. By the way, I probably do it too. So
Right. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right?
I hate it and I'm guilty.
Right, there you go. We hate it and we're guilty.
I'm at a bar, everybody's down. You're at the car wash, everybody's down. It makes me crazy. I'm looking around and then I look down.
Yeah, and I get pissed off. So then I'm usually saying, hey, knock it off. And I really shouldn't say that. So what's a nicer way when you feel like somebody's not paying attention to you and you're, supposed to be enjoying them having dinner? What do you say? Like, please put that down. Or what do you do when it's in the way? You know what I mean?
Well, I should ask my wife, since I'm really bad at that myself. I try my best, but
That's tough.
I just continue asking questions. I always say assertions irritate and annoy, but questions compel and convince. And so instead of just saying, you're really annoying me, because you're looking at your phone, just ask them a question that tries to get them more engaged. I think that's a really subtle and a little bit more gracious way of getting people engaged than just calling them out on it.
I've done something a little different than that. I would ask them a question that would appear that they would be guilty of doing something to see if they're actually listening, and
Like, is your fly open?
yeah, something ridiculous. And then they go, huh? And I'd realize you weren't listening at all. There's something so intrinsically rude about what's happening that we're all guilty of. And I wonder if there's a way to just stop, or are we so attached to this phone in our hands that it's never really going to go away?
I think we'll have cycles. Everything has cycles that people will start to, it will be so uncool. It will become totally uncool to be doing that people will put their phones down.
I think you're right.
I think so too.
I think you're right. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, so I have this, with all of our distractions that we have and how ubiquitous it's getting in our culture, I've actually got this theory that the most premium thing that we can offer anybody now and in the future is our presence and our attention. And I think that so many people are trying to get other people's attention.
Yeah.
But I like to tell people, your presence is your product, all right? Giving, not just paying attention to people, but investing in attention. In this distracted digital age, that's going to be priceless.
And it's a skill we really have to take seriously and to learn. I mean, none of us
learn.
Right, and none of us really grew up with this stuff, let's face it. I mean, it wasn't around when I was a kid, cell phones, because...
No, you talked to each other. You made up stories. You did whatever.
Yeah,
right.
But for people being born into this, I mean, it's really a skill they're going to have to learn because they're born with little cell phones in their hands. And
I wonder about the curvature of our upper back and necks. Seriously, I wonder if we're physiologically going to change. Evolve
right, over a couple of million years,
exactly.
And then they trace it back to the cell phone era.
Right, exactly.
That's actually
they'll call it
one.
the iPhone bone.
No,
yeah.
Now you brought up. No, I'm sorry, Vaughn, but hang on. I read that you said something like the elevator is the new magnet. What does that mean? Does that mean when you're in an elevator, it's like a prime time to start talking to people?
Well, obviously, people talk all the time about, if you want to influence, you want to have a magnetic personality. And obviously, I'm not against the concept. I'm very much for the concept that people's skills are directly tied to happiness and success. But I am increasingly bothered by this metaphor of the magnet because it has to do with drawing people to you, attracting people to you. And I don't know, it's hard to get away from the self-obsession of that metaphor. Yeah. And so I like the metaphor of the elevator. And I like the idea that real power and real influence is not in attraction, but in elevation. So you think about an elevator it's a vehicle of service, right? And when you're serving other people, you're making an impact on them. You're influencing them. An elevator draws people together. We live in a world that's very disjointed, disconnected. Imagine being the kind of person that builds unity among people in community and draws them very close together. An elevator is something that, takes us where we need to go. Imagine you're the kind of person that your very orientation is basically solving problems and helping connect people with opportunities. We talk about that all the time on the podcast, the MFCEO project, that being that kind of person that just helps other people get to where they're going is a huge part of influence. And of course, final thing is elevators lift people up, right? So in the entire, it feels like, especially on social media, everybody's all about bringing people down. Well, if you can use your words and your actions to build people up, that's going to have a tremendous impact and influence. And so that's why I say, for me, the elevator is the new magnet. It's the power of elevation, not attraction.
You can really hear your pastor beginnings in what you do because you're all about just lifting people
and
up.
Selfless.
Yeah, and selfless. I actually think that's really terrific. I really like being around people like you. I like to surround myself I like to have friends like you, because it's just, it's you can do so much and just stay positive. You can do the same thing, and as long as you remain positive, you can have the same impact. Like what's going on with Donald Trump, for example. He could act, whatever your politics is, it doesn't really matter, but whatever it is that he's trying to implement could actually be done so differently, depending upon
If he was
how.
more selfless.
If he was a lot more selfless, even if you don't agree with the politics or what he's trying to do whatsoever. But do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I like the idea, Vaughn's idea of being more influential, more powerful in a sense, by deflecting attention away from you. And I see how people, and then other people, you sort of, and it really is almost a Christian. I mean, if you talk about Christ, and Christ is the ultimate selfless and sacrificing for the good, for the love of all. I'm not going to go off the rails here into religion, but I'm all on board with that. But I do think this idea of you sort of creep into people's lives, and I don't mean that in a negative way, by empowering them and lifting them up, and suddenly they're turning to you for more influence, for more help, for whatever.
Well, considering we've got a president who doesn't really seem to be doing that.
Well, he's the
moment,
opposite. It's all about him.
What kind of world are we going to be living in the next 4 years? Again, politics aside, I don't really care who anybody voted for. I didn't vote for him. Someone else in my family did.
But he's the president now.
But he's the president.
It's his show. It's
so
his
what
show.
do we do? It's his show. That's exactly right. And I always like to say, let's get behind him. He's our president. There's
Right.
not much else we can do. But he's also a guy who doesn't seem interested, I think, in taking, he likes to take all the credit. He likes all the attention on him. It's a really dangerous place to be, don't you think?
Well, I think he is
Well,
thinking.
it's interesting because, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
that's okay. Go ahead.
To me, the main problem is that Donald Trump is certainly not alone in how he chooses to influence, because I feel like people on both sides, and certainly people all over social media, the way that they at least attempt to exercise influence is counterproductive. And I always like to say, before you post anything, before you say anything, ask yourself, do I authentically want to persuade somebody, or do I just want to take my pound of flesh? Because I think that's what most people today, we've got a whole political system that basically rewards our politicians for taking their pound of flesh and not actually working to influence and to engage one another for real solutions. And I think Trump, whatever you think of him, is a symptom. And I think our whole nation has lost the art of influence. We just want to smack our opponents around and feel good about ourselves.
Yeah, hopefully it goes into the opposite direction, though. I think we're sort of going down a dangerous road if that's the way he's going to be leading. I really do. But, before we let you go, tell us a little bit more about your podcast, MSCEO. First of all, what does it stand for? What do you talk about?
Well, okay, so you
That's a
mentioned
mouthful,
the
isn't
pastors.
it?
Yeah. So the MFCEO project we started about 2 years ago. I was very blessed to meet an incredible guy named Andy Frisella. He's very active on Instagram. He's got about 500,000 followers on
Wow.
Instagram, and just very active. He has founded several multi-million-dollar companies. The most notable of which is First Form, and they manufacture like nutritional supplements, that sort of thing. And he is just an incredible entrepreneur, very successful, but he also has a real gift for motivation. And so he and I met because I had written an article about him. And so next thing you know, we decided we were going to start a podcast. Andy is not for the faint of heart. Everything he says weighs a ton. And if you do not like the F word, you will not like the podcast.
Oh, stop.
Wait a minute.
I would love
You-
this man.
yeah.
Do you understand? I'm from New Jersey. You got that? So this man is a man after my own heart. I love him. Okay, so go ahead. I just needed you to know that.
So he is like, I truly believe he is this generation's Tony Robbins. He is saying exactly what he needs to say
With the F word.
Yeah. Well, that's this generation.
I'm not I'm a big cusser, but I always like to say Andy cares enough to kick people in the ass, and so I'm the foil for that in some ways. I'm the former pastor. He jokingly calls me the pastor of disaster, and oddly enough, he also calls me Vaughn the Impaler, which I'm not exactly sure where that came from, but I think it may be an allusion to Vlad the Impaler. I'm not sure, but we won't go there. But in any case, we talk about success, we talk about motivation, and we try to shoot people, straight and hit them between the eyes, and it's just going really, really well. We've got a huge following, and the people that follow us, they're the best listeners in the world, and they're out to just kill it in life. They don't want to make excuses. They're not going to blame anybody else. They're going to take control of their lives and be the MF CEO, which is the as you can imagine, mother CEO.
Got it.
So it's an interesting dynamic, and you should definitely tune in. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all that good stuff.
Very good.
It's been a lot of fun.
Vaughn Kohler, thanks a lot for being with us today. Maybe someday you'll have me on your podcast. I would love that because I love talking about politics.
And you can say the F word.
Oh, man. It'll be like me at home. It'll be like me at home all the time. Hey, you, get down here for dinner. You should hear me. You got to remember, I'm Italian out of New Jersey, so this is what I do.
That's great.
Anyway, all right, Vaughn, thanks again for tuning in.
For having me.
You're a lot of fun, a great guy, and you're doing really great things.
Can I just say real quick?
Please.
Say hi to my wife. Thanks, Sasha. Love you.
Oh, my gosh. Do you not love this man?
Oh, my gosh.
What's your wife's name?
My wife's name is Kasha. She's she came over from years ago. She grew up in Chicago, but she came over with Ronald Reagan's help. Her parents and her came over from Poland. So she's the love of my life and a wonderful, wonderful woman.
And what a nice husband she's got. And you've got 2 daughters and a yellow lab too. Isn't that correct?
I do.
Oh,
yeah, see, I did my
you're
stuff
living
on
the
you.
life, Vaughn.
You are living the life, Vaughn. All right.
I do. I'm a very blessed man.
You are a blessed man, a
Good to be
good
me.
guy too, and you're doing a lot of good work. Thanks for
Yeah.
coming on with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Take care,
bye-bye.
y'all.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He is pretty terrific, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
What
I'm
a
suspicious.
positive-
I'm suspicious.
Look at you. No, I don't think I am. I know people like him. They really do live their lives like that. You
And
know?
plus, he's from the middle of the country. I mean, here on the West Coast, we don't trust anyone. We don't believe anyone. I think from the middle of the country, people are more authentic.
What a nice human being and a very successful guy. He's got millions of people who follow him and his partners. So you can do good out there, Donald, and actually have a lot of people following you. You know, politically, it's just really set me into a tailspin what's going on in politics. We could talk about that in a minute, but and what I'd like to really bring up is your incredible career. You just got back from the Super Bowl. I was jealous as hell. I was texting her all weekend. I'm like, seriously? I am really pissed off. I never get assignments like that. So you went to the Super Bowl.
Yes, I covered the Super Bowl for CNBC.
We got some pictures here. Look at Tom Brady with Giselle.
Oh, I know. Hate her.
It's just not fair.
I hate her.
I hate her because she's got him. That's why I hate her.
She's just too beautiful. Did you see her?
I think he's too beautiful. Forget her. I find him to be gorgeous. No?
He is, but he's also the Borg because only Tom Brady, 3.5 quarters in, you're down by, 25 points. Only Tom Brady, the Borg, could. Resistance is futile. Lead them back. It was incredible. The stadium just came alive.
I can't imagine I was at a party and I was talking to a friend near the donut station. You can imagine what the party was like if it actually had a donut station. It had lots of other stations.
But you must have been all bored by this time.
We were, because we thought, nothing's going to happen.
So
It's
boring.
over.
It's a blowout.
By the time we went back over to the 3 or 4 televisions that were out and the outside, that was just the outside of the party, everything had turned around.
Yes.
I couldn't believe it.
It was crazy.
But that was from my vantage point at someone's home. From your vantage point, being in the stadium, what did that feel like?
Well, it was with maybe about 7 minutes left in the game when Hightower stripped the ball from Matt Ryan. You could just, the Patriots fans who had been just long-faced there. By the way, Mark Wahlberg left early.
I was going to say people were leaving early. First of all, it's rude. Second of all, it's just rude. You just don't do that.
Well, it's a Super Bowl. Not that many people were leaving early, though. It's not like an L.A. game where everybody gets out of there
what
so
was
they can
his
beat the
excuse
traffic.
anyway for leaving early?
He claims his son was not feeling well. I'm thinking, you're putting this on your son?
Put the kid in the car.
Yeah,
You know
you're
what I
putting
mean?
it on your son?
Yeah, everybody's going to say Mark Wahlberg left.
Yeah, your son didn't feel well because his father was furious the Patriots were losing. But
wonder how much money he lost.
but if he bet on the Patriots, no, he made a killing. So anyhow, there's about 7 minutes left, and everybody's kind of bored at this time. Gaga had been great. Falcons fans were happy, but we're just going to ride it out. Patriots fans were deflated, but they're thinking if there's any team that can come back, if there's any guy who could lead them to victory, this is the guy. And when they stripped the ball from Matt Ryan, the place, it's like they flipped on the switch in the stadium. 70,000, 71,000 people, everybody.
Incredible.
And you could see almost as though Tom Brady was visualizing victory. I mean, they were going to have 2 2-point conversions on 2 touchdowns, and you could just see that he was going to do it, and you could see his team starting to believe it. We started to believe it, and the Falcons started to believe it, unfortunately.
It's exactly right. You could see the team that because he believed it and he made it happen. The team believed it was going to
Yes.
happen. They were all behind him, and you're right. I could feel that from where I was sitting, and to be where you were, I just can't imagine the energy.
You just knew it was. You just knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, what an incredible experience. Give me a couple of the highlights from your point of view.
Well,
The good, dirty highlights that none of us would have really seen from our point of view.
I don't know how loud it was on TV, but when
Yeah.
Roger Goodell came up to the podium and the booing started, the booing was so loud.
Hey, you could hear that. Heck yeah. I thought
We couldn't hear anything else. It's
Yeah.
as though Falcons fans joined the Patriots fans in booing him, and then he kind of hustled down quickly and got out of there. I don't know how much for his own safety or whatever. And then the other highlight was I interviewed the Patriots owner Robert Kraft. And when I was interviewing at the end, I was asked about the economy. He and Donald Trump were longtime friends. When his wife passed away, Trump called him every week for a year to see how he was doing.
Yeah, Trump is that kind of guy. He is a loyal friend. I
Yes.
knew Trump early on in my career. He was a loyal person way back. That's
He can be very charming.
he can be charming and he can be a loyal guy to his friends. You know,
Yeah.
I knew him back in Atlantic City pretty well, I will tell you. And
Ooh.
not that well. He had Marla at the time, so he didn't need me. But I was a young kid kind of out of college, and yeah, he was doing his own thing with Marla and Ivana on the side. So he had no need for me whatsoever. But I knew him and I covered him, so it was a very fun time.
What was that like?
What was that like? Oh, now you're turning the tables on me?
Well, I mean, I
What
want
was that like?
what was that?
I couldn't-
20 years ago, or
Not quite. I was only 12. But what was that like to be following him through his 3 bankruptcies?
Yeah.
Was an interesting time.
was he spinning it then that I'm not bankrupt? That this is the
Let's put
company?
it this way. No, he had no choice. I mean, it was out there in clear day. He ended up going to court for it, and the courts put him on an allowance. So it was a very interesting time. He just sort of shrugged it off and realized he had to do what he had to do. And he would walk through the casinos with his bravado. He was a good guy. Everyone that I knew who worked for him really liked him. And he was very, very nice to me as a reporter, a very young reporter out of a dumpy little station in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And he was always very nice to me and would always give me a story. Never came on to me. Now, I don't know. Am I supposed to be insulted? He never once grabbed me, never said a word to me, nothing. So
Geraldo never came on to me either. And then I thought,
ugh,
am
who
I
would
the
be
one?
worse? Who would be
Am
worse?
I-
Did you want Geraldo to come on to you or Donald Trump? Oh my God. Which one would you rather have?
Oh,
I'd rather have Donald Trump
Geraldo.
come on.
Geraldo.
Oh, really?
Well, Geraldo was really nice to me. He was very good for my career during
Sorry,
OJ.
Geraldo.
Isn't that funny? No, but I mean, I can't even believe I just said that. I
What,
can't
that
even,
you don't mind if
that,
that
Geraldo-
Jane Wells is saying she doesn't mind if
No,
Geraldo
no, I
comes
did
on
not
to her.
say-
Is that what she said?
Geraldo over Trump. You asked me, who'd you rather?
I know. Who'd you rather? Geraldo? I'll take Trump and you'll take Geraldo.
Oh my God,
Okay,
yeah.
so at least we don't have to fight over him.
Well,
There you go. See how my mind works? It's like you could just get me going and it'll keep going down and down and down.
but back to Robert Kraft.
Yeah, well, you had to ask me about Donald Trump. See what happens
I
when
know,
you go
but that's
down
all
my
right.
world?
That's a good one. I like it.
yeah.
So I asked him, "Are you going to ever invite the commissioner back to the Gillette Stadium because
Right.
he hasn't been there since Deflategate?" And he just said, "I think we're done." And he
Really?
walked away, and he was ticked off, and I was sort of taken aback, and I could tell he was furious that I asked him the obvious question, which everybody would want to ask him. Through his PR guy, I heard later he wanted to apologize. He didn't mean to end it that way. And then the next night, I was at this Taylor Swift concert being put on by DirecTV Now, and I was up in the VIP.
What a terrible weekend you
I
had.
know.
I'm so sorry,
I'll-
Jane Wells, next night at the Taylor Swift concert. Go ahead.
Yes.
Jane.
Although I look totally out of place.
See
I
what
was
the
a
big
schlub.
guys get to do?
No,
Jane Wells,
I
go
was
ahead.
wearing jeans. I had like a
Ooh.
backpack on because I was
Horrible.
working. No, I looked like
for
a
her.
homeless person had stumbled
I'm
in.
sure of it. Continue.
So I'm up at the VIP thing. By the way, I know that I'm really piling it on now. Chrissy Teigen and John Legend are right over here.
Can you please leave?
I know.
mean, honestly, and I'm sitting there
kinda
at home
snuggling.
the next night. Just
I know, and I'm thinking like everybody would kill to be here, but I would just like a good drink, and I wish I could see it. So I'm already complaining in my head. I know. So then I look over here, and there's Robert Kraft, with his 35-year-old girlfriend.
Oh, of
And-
course.
Yes, and well, he was married for a long time, love of his life.
All right,
so
all right.
he's
So now
now
he
a billion.
tra-
yeah,
yeah,
now
now he,
he's
got the young
she
one.
died, and
Yeah,
now
no.
he's 75.
Right.
So I'm trying to angle away so he doesn't know it's me, because I'm thinking, oh shoot, I don't want to mess. After we had this awkward breakup,
What happened? Just tell me.
he touches me. I turn around. He goes, "You Jane?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I
my
was
gosh.
tired. I was tired of those questions. I don't like to do
Wow.
that. We have too much of that going on in this
See the
country.
power that Jane Wells
No,
has.
I
want
thought,
you to
see
know
what a
that.
classy guy Robert Kraft is.
He is. He is. And you're right. He was caught up in the moment. That's what happened.
Yeah, he was
really
tired.
caught up in the moment, and he
Yeah.
remembered, and it bugged him, and he tapped you on the
Yes.
shoulder to say, I'm sorry. That's a good guy. You're
Yeah.
right.
And then he cuffed me on the head kind of like this, like, hey, kid.
What a
though
moment.
Even though I could be his girlfriend's mother.
What a, not really.
But it was
but
a
what
nice
moment.
It was so. He's a billion,
Yeah.
and I'm just some report. It spoke a lot.
Hardly.
No, it spoke a lot about him.
It did, and it spoke a lot about you because he remembered. So you're not
that
just
was
some
nice.
reporter, Jane Wells. So I'm going to take a quick break because I want to get a little bit into your career. But I'm pretty sure that right now we have someone on the line that I know we both wanted to talk to, Bruno Serato. Bruno, are you there?
Bruno.
Bruno.
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, my darling. How are you? And I know you're not feeling so terrific. We all know what happened. It was in the news. Owner of the White House restaurant, Bruno, is not only an esteemed chef and restaurant owner, he also feeds over 1,800 kids a day,
A
homeless
night.
kids a day,
Yes, every
which is
single
hard
day.
to believe. And his restaurant, I can't even say it without getting tears in my eyes, honestly, burned down over the weekend, and I know that it was the most horrific experience. I know you're still upset from it, and there's not much I can say except I'm sorry, but the fact that people have rallied to help you so that you can still feed these homeless kids, because you know what Bruno was concerned about? These kids.
kids.
He just said, look, if you have a reservation in my restaurant, I'll see you in 6 months, but how can I feed the kids? I mean, honestly, Bruno, you're an outstanding human being.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what, I mean, honestly, I was talking to a friend of mine a couple hours ago. I say, the tragedy of the first 24 hours was enormous. I feel like I lost somebody dear to my life, which is my own restaurant. But my priority was to take care of the kids. I mean, the fire was on Saturday morning, but Monday morning, I was already in the kitchen to a location to feed the children. And guess what? That was the best medication ever. You know, when people take the pill because they are depressed or this or that, for me, the best medication was to go to the kitchen, feed the pasta, and see the kids around me. You know, that's what happened Monday and Tuesday. It's going to happen every day. I mean, I never stop. That was the best thing I could have done.
Bruno, what kitchen? I mean, obviously another restaurant because you couldn't do it from my place.
I have a different location. Call me, and I have the Christ Cathedral has called me. I have a Marconi Museum has called me. Ritz Hamilton Library has called me. But I have a Highway 39, which is only 1 mile from the restaurant. I mean, I picked that one because it's so close to me to begin with.
Right.
It's because we do off-site catering a lot. That's one of the venues that we do catering. And I say, so let me use this one. And they say, Bruno, my kitchen is yours, and definitely. And now I'm getting situated out to get organized. The important thing that Monday, hungry children will get plate of pasta, and that's what we did. And now I feel better. I mean, honestly, that's exactly what I need to do, starting track. And our second priority was to find a job for my crew. I mean, I've not slept well the last 3 days and 3 nights because I'm currently president of Disneyland, visit Anaheim, Marriott GM, lot of friends, restaurateur. Say, please, can you need a dishwasher, a waiter, a manager, an assistant manager, bartender? So my second priority was the crew. I mean, first priority was the children. Second priority is my crew. Me, last one. When I take care of all of those two things, I can do something else. But for now, I want to make sure that my staff has worked with me for 30 years and be taking care. The kids are already on track, 100%. Off-site catering is doing well, 100%, because we have a kitchen somewhere else than we had that 5 years ago. I mean, it's good. It's like everything's going to right. I take some time for the restaurant. I mean, get ready, wait for my email. When I'm ready to reopen, I will send email to everybody to make reservation.
But Bruno, in the meantime, what can people do if they want to donate, or because I know that you're accepting donations?
Well, if they go to my website, I put GoFund. I mean, somebody did for me because I didn't have time to.
Yeah, they've raised over 100,000 already.
GoFundMe page. Yeah, GoFundMe page is on my website, and which is AnaheimWhiteHouse.com. If you click on AnaheimWhiteHouse.com website, you will see, and it will show you a link on the top. So show you how to click in it to donate it. That is what I'm asking friends, everybody. Share the link to everybody you know, because as you know, we need also cash flow to operate in pay payroll people, and we bill that we have to pay too. That anything can help, obviously.
And I believe the station, the KFI, right? They're going to be doing a pretty large. They're going to be going down there and doing a show.
K5 is on a really talk. They've been talking about there are so many things around K5. Obviously, they are one of the biggest supporters of the White House in the Caterina's Club, and they've been on it. One of the first phone calls in the morning was from Bill Handel, because I know that much he care about what they do. I mean, the Bishop of Orange County, Bishop Vaughn called me, actress Sophia Loren called me.
Wow.
I mean, all my
Sophia Loren,
PhD
how must that feel?
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, wait a
lots of
minute.
people.
What must that feel like to get a call from Sophia Loren? I mean, come on. But I know that you've entertained plenty of celebrities.
Honestly, when she called me, I didn't consider her as a Sophia Loren. I consider her as a mama, because she's the mom of Carlo Ponti Jr., which is a dear friend of mine. Carlo called me and said, hold on a second, Bruno, Mom wants to say something for you. I mean, when she called me, I feel like it was my own country, because Sophia represents Italy. The Statue of Liberty of Italy is Sophia Loren. We all know that.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
the fact that she's not just gorgeous, beautiful outside, she's a gorgeous, beautiful inside. And for me at that moment, it was not Sophia Loren. It was a mom of my friend, same thing that my mom would have done to any of my friends.
Bruno, just thank you for coming on with us. I just want people to know that you're up and running to do the work that you want to do through Caterina's Club. And anyone who wants to donate, go to your website, Anaheim Whitehouse, right, .com.
Whitehouse.com, yeah.
And to GoFund. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
And
so
I know that
much.
we'll
I
be
love
seeing
everybody of you who's interviewing me, because anything can help. And I really, thanks everybody, all your listeners. Thanks from the bottom of my heart from everybody.
You're such an inspiring man, Bruno. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Wow.
Thank you. Ciao.
Bye-bye. Ciao. He's just incredible.
He is
if I could
incredible.
even be 1 ounce of what this man is. Have you met him?
Yes. I
He's-
was down there at the fundraiser KFI did. I mean, that is what an operation. And by the way, the food's good.
Can I just say something? I can barely even get dinner on the
I know.
table most nights. Thanksgiving is an even bigger disaster, because one dish is cold, another one is hot. How do you feed 1,800 people in a day?
I
It
don't
just
know.
doesn't, even if it's pasta, it's like you got to keep it warm. You got to deliver it warm. It can't
Yeah.
be cold and congealed like mine would be.
Right. It can't be too al dente. It can't be mushy.
This man is just the most inspiring person. His heart, he wears it outside, right? He's just such an incredible man. So I wish the best to him, but I wanted to have him on. And that was the only time that he
Yeah.
could call. So
No, they're trying to raise. I went on GoFundMe. They're trying to raise $350,000, and they're over
They will.
100,000. They're over 100. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that this just happened, sadly, I believe, I should have asked him, but we didn't have much time with him. I believe that there were workers that were working on it upstairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was getting new carpet.
Yep. And
just-
it's such a sad. So I can't imagine. I mean, he just was beside himself that day, that night, but he immediately just pulled through for the kids, and here he is. So I'm really glad
Good
that he
for
came
him.
on.
I mean, I'm just hoping the best that they get everything and up and running, and the fact that he's out there trying to get jobs for his employees. It's just amazing.
So, so again, thank you for
Sure.
taking that quick break
No,
with us.
no.
But to get back to the Super Bowl really quickly, and then I want to talk about some of the really cool stories that you've done in your career, because you've had quite a career. I mean, you've worked a lot of amazing places, not just CNBC, but I mean, did you start in Albuquerque, or where did you
Yeah,
start?
my first reporting job, I graduated from SC, and then I was working at KTLA as a news writer. But my first reporting job was in Albuquerque. Then I moved up to Miami. Then I came to Fox 11 in LA. And
Is
from
that where
there-
I met you, Fox 11
Yeah.
in LA?
Yeah.
That was a fun time. I really liked the people over there. And
Yeah.
you didn't stay that long. Then where
Oh,
did
I
you
was
go?
there 8 years.
Yeah, but then where did you go after that?
Then I left right towards the end. I was their OJ reporter. Towards the end of OJ1, I became WNBC's LA reporter.
Okay.
Then I went to Fox News Channel for a while, and I've been at CNBC, business side since 2000, but I came to primetime before that and did like the President Clinton's impeachment, that sort of thing. So, yeah. But in LA, back in LA where I grew up, since 1987, so a long time.
Because I worked over at Channel 11, KTT also. And then I went from there, I went over to CNN. It was so different to go from local news to be standing out there at 10 o'clock at night, reporting on the latest coyote sighting and I enjoyed it. And the folks at Channel 11 were terrific. They were good folks when I was working there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, they were really good. And some of the same people are still there too.
I know. Can you imagine still being in local news? That's a tough business now.
It's a really tough business. I don't think I'd mind doing it just once in a while, just for fun, like, I don't know, once a month. But I don't think I'd want to do it that much. But then going over to network was such a difference because
it is.
It was a little more refined, if you will, and you were actually able to go home. I'm like, how could this be? I can actually go home and they say I can go home?
Well, yeah, especially with CNBC when you were working market hours. But if you've worked in local news before, you have so much better chops going to network than the people who've never done it before.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
You're completely
and you're kind of like
training.
this, and they're just sort of sitting back, right?
Right. You're used to not having a producer with you. You're used to, in fact, in the small market where I started, I was editing my own tape. And so
I was running my own teleprompter,
right.
and half the time I go flying off, and I would think, oh shit, now what do I do? So I would just make up the news is what I would do, including the weather. I mean, you have no idea half the stuff I had to make up. Yeah, open the window.
Yeah, you learn to tap dance. You learn to expect anything bad to happen because it will.
Right, and then all of a sudden you go to network and you have someone even just to hand you your papers, and you're thinking,
yeah. They call
this
you Miss
is too
Wells.
easy.
Yeah.
Wait, what did they call you?
Miss Wells.
Miss Wells. It's like, no, it's Jane. Jane to you. Sorry.
It's so funny.
I know, right? Could you imagine living with me? So I have a little bit of a cold, so sorry about that.
That's all right.
So you went over to network, and but is that where you covered the O.J. Simpson
right,
trial? Did you cover it for network or local?
I started at KTTV, and then I finished it for WNBC and for Geraldo at CNBC. So all of OJ2 was with Rivera Live on CNBC and WNBC.
I remember watching your reports on Rivera Live covering OJ. You were terrific.
Oh, thank you.
And you had terrific chemistry with him as well.
He was great.
Yeah, people I know who've worked with him, and I have not ever worked with him, nor do I know him, said he was terrific to work with. Yeah.
He was. I was hesitant to go because I thought he was a tabloid guy, which he was a tabloid guy, and that he was beneath me. Here's what he did. And speaking of,
do you hear that, Geraldo?
I know.
She thought you were beneath you, and she'd take you over Donald Trump. So let's see.
But going back to what
send this to
Vaughn
him.
said earlier in the show, Geraldo builds up everybody on the show with him as the greatest. Jane, you're the greatest reporter. You're the greatest analyst. We're so lucky to have you. So I started out as being like, oh, I'm on the show with Geraldo Rivera. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, yeah, he understands who I am. He gets me.
He gets it.
Geraldo's a brilliant guy.
Exactly. Well, the guy's still around, too.
Yes. But he was always building other people up, knowing that if you look good, and you were on his show, he looked good.
Well, that's what all the great guys do. They know to do that. Everyone on the team has to look good and be good, and then you will be too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do people not understand that in television? They want to tear you down if you are doing well.
That's a whole nother show, because I've had a lot of that too, right?
Yeah.
And I would just ignore them and say, look, I'm the one with the talent, you're not, goodbye. So, but you're right, there is a lot of that.
Yeah, they're so insecure, they want to tear you down instead of realizing that if everyone's good, all boats rise.
Yeah, but you're right about that. I mean, it's all about tearing down, in which case you leave feeling so deflected. You're thinking, ugh.
Why
geez,
should I kick butt? Why should I go work hard for you?
I found that it was more local news that did that and not really network news. What do you think about that? Because when I was over at CNN, I don't know, the entire place seemed to be that way. Just everyone wanted everybody to do well, right?
I've seen it both in both places.
Yeah.
I've seen it, you even see it in radio a little bit.
So you did the OJ trial. I worked on that as well.
Yeah.
I was actually there when OJ showed up at his, after the Bronco chase. Were you?
Yeah, I was in a Bronco.
You were in a Bronco
I
too?
was in a news Bronco on the 405, about a quarter mile behind him with camerawoman Patty Ballas. I was driving, and we ended up on one side of Rockingham, and the live truck was on the other, and there was no way I was going to be able to get over to him. So I just called in and was doing a live phoner, and I was listening to the police scanner. And then I was self-editing myself what from the police scanner I could say. Like, they were getting ready to shoot him with beanbags if he got out of the car, or ow. But I didn't want to say that over the air. So but what was weird, and I don't know if you saw it where you were, people were coming with their kids. This was like the Super Bowl. They had their kids on their shoulders, running to be near him. They just thought it was like a big circus event.
I know. I agree with that. There was something sad about
Yes.
that. It was like a big circus event, and I remember thinking, why aren't the police telling these people to stand back, to go away?
Oh, I know. Well, they had their hands full.
Yeah, no, they really had their hands full. Wouldn't you have loved to have been a fly on the window in that car, if anything was being said at all?
And
you know,
Al Cowlings has never spoken about it.
No.
And even in the ESPN 30 for 30 on OJ, which was fantastic, they had his phone call stuff, but you never really know. He's never talked about it. Have seen him, oh gosh, but it's been a few years. He used to always go to the Western Bagel out in Westlake Village. And I remember him walking in, and I'm looking around like, holy cow, that's Al Cowlings. And nobody knows. I'm thinking, it has been that long? Has it been that long? AC is right there. Of course, I did not go up to him.
well,
I did
you
not
kinda
go.
can't. It's embarrassing.
I mean,
What
I
do you
was
say?
private. Look, he's just getting a bagel. I'm getting a bagel. I didn't
I
want to
never
go
go
up
up
and
to
say, like,
people. Do you? I mean, I always see.
No.
No, I just don't. It's too embarrassing.
Not
They
unless
want
you're
to get their
working.
bagel or their
yeah,
coffee.
if you're working, then you got to go up.
well, that's different.
But if you're just like people are just trying to, get their coffee, leave them alone.
Let me ask you this. A lot of people ask me this too. Do you feel like you're a different person when you've got your reporter hat on
Yes.
and a microphone in your hand?
Yes.
I know for me, it's like, you, out of my way.
Yes.
Because,
You
it's
have
like,
to
oh
be.
my gosh. And then without the microphone, I'm usually fairly, believe it or not, quiet and tame.
Right.
Because I just don't do that. But right? But
Well,
when
you
you're
got
working,
to.
you've got to push your way through.
Right. It's like what I talked about with my daughter earlier. You put your game face on. Like when you have to go knock on somebody's door whose son murdered two other people or whose son was murdered, you just got
I
to
have
put your
to tell
game
you,
face on.
those were the stories that I very often would beg not to go on. I found that it was not my place to knock on
I
somebody's
hated
door.
it.
Please, I hate to tell you, sometimes I just was praying that I would knock very lightly. I just didn't want to talk to them. I felt like they deserved their space, their time, their dignity. I really would argue sometimes with my producers and say, send somebody else, or do we have to do this? And those were the toughest. Let me ask you this,
Yeah.
because we're actually running out of time. What were your favorite moments, and what were the ones that you loathed the most in this business?
I will tell you two. The one I loathed the most was covering Columbine. I just
Ooh.
didn't want to be there. I just didn't. Nobody wanted me there. I didn't want it.
The area, or because of the way you were treated, or everything?
No, the whole story was horrible. It was just the worst story, and I thought this is the last dead kid story I'm doing, and that's when I switched to business news.
Oh, really? I
I
know there's
just-
always a moment where you
I just
switch
hated
over and
it.
you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything on any more dead people,
It was
especially
horrible.
teenagers.
It was
Yeah.
horrible. The best moment was very quickly. My son was about to start kindergarten, his first day of kindergarten. Princess Diana died that weekend before. Fox wanted to send me to London to cover her funeral. I said no because I didn't want to miss his first day of kindergarten. I knew he'd never remember it, but on my
See what
deathbed.
us moms do.
Oh, it's horrible. So there's this whole tension. 2 days after he started kindergarten, Mother Teresa dies. They said, you want to go to Calcutta? I said, when's the plane leaving? I'm on it."
Wow.
And it was the most moving, incredible 10
but they
days.
called you back.
Yeah, well, I was working for him, but I turned down a story. I feel like Mother Teresa rewarded me. But she died. She waited to die.
But what a story that is. It's true.
It was so much bigger than cover. I mean, Princess Diana was a huge story, but to go to Calcutta, which I can't even begin to explain to you what it meant to that city, where the poorest of the poor in the world were. That's why she was there. For her to die, whether you were Muslim, Christian, Hindu, they all called her mother. I was there for 10 days, covered the funeral. Most meaningful story I've ever done.
How do you manage to stay in a business where so many people could hardly even stay in it? And you've been in it for a while now, working for network, working for local. What advice would you give a younger reporter who wants to stay in it?
I would say learn to write. You have to write, and if you can write, you will get work. Too many people are successful in this business, and they're shitty writers, and they tell boring stories.
What about the new media, though? A lot of people are just now coming up with their own little newscasts on their own little.
Yep, but you still need to know how to tell a story, Deborah. And yes, you need to learn to do everything. You need to learn to do everything.
Even your own teleprompter, like we did back in the day.
Yes.
No, but it's true.
It is
right?
true.
But with new media, I actually think the way we see news and where we're getting our news is going to be so different. But you're always going to need a correspondent out there to tell the story.
Quality will always carry a premium, but that premium's coming down because everybody can be a reporter now, which is not a bad thing as long as it's not fake news. But if you can tell a story well and you have access and it's compelling, that'll be worth something.
Where are you going next? Do you know?
I am next month. I'm actually planning we're going to go to San Quentin for 2 days to do a story about startups behind bars. All these Silicon Valley tech types have come in to help these inmates at San Quentin code, even though they don't have access to the internet. And some of them were never even on the internet before
Why do
they
I not
got
get
in.
this? So what are they doing?
They're learning to code so that when they get out, and they have an intranet.
So when they get out, they can be multimillionaires
Or they
coming
can
out
go-
of San Quentin.
and they're
this
already-
is your ticket to success, people.
18 have already graduated, and they're out, and they're getting jobs. It's an amazing, and with zero recidivism so far. It's an amazing story. They had Mark Zuckerberg come talk to them. They all knew who he was. None of them had ever been on Facebook.
San Quentin, though, are they not the
Yeah,
toughest of the toughest?
Well, they're not the you have a couple other prisons which are. You have death row at San Quentin. There are no death row guys in this particular.
Well, I would
thing.
hope not, because they're not going to be
They're
around
not
very
going-
long to be.
Well,
depending
God
upon
only knows in this state.
Yeah, I know, depending upon the appeals process. But go
Right,
ahead.
right. No, these are this is maximum security, but there are some guys in there who do qualify for parole and get out. And 18 have graduated from this coding program. It's also started kind of like a Shark Tank. It's an amazing
Wow.
story. I'm very skeptical, but I'm going up there to do a story on it.
I think that's terrific. Jane Wells, thank you so much for being here. I hope you had a nice time.
I did, Deborah. That was
And
fun.
Thanks for sort of rolling with it. And I guess you'll be on KFI soon, too, because you've been doing radio. You're everywhere. Radio.
Even here.
And even here on my little podcast. So thank you for taking the
Absolutely.
time.
You're welcome, Deborah.
Thanks again. All right, and everybody, thanks for tuning in to another fun edition, I hope. Okay, before we go, by the way, and thank you for being here so much. I really
welcome.
appreciate it. You've been unbelievable. But thank you. This studio audience grows every week. We have hundreds. They're right behind you
It's
over
like
there.
the Super Bowl.
I know, but I just wanted to say something. I'm not sure what you're doing this Sunday morning, but if you'd like to join me, I'm doing a run for the Upward Bound Foundation. Do you see this? The Upward Bound?
Did I see a picture of you training for that?
Well, I'm actually training for the LA Marathon.
That's what I saw.
That's different. But the Upward Bound, it actually provides housing, and it actually gets people acclimated and getting back into society who have been homeless and had all sorts of situations happening, children, moms. So we are raising money for the Upward Bound, and I hope you'll join me. Look it up online. It's called the Home Run for Kids, Upward Bound Foundation. We're going to be there this Sunday, actually in the Brentwood area, and you can do a 5K, you can do a 10K, you can do whatever you want. So Upward Bound. Anyway, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.